What is going on, NFL fans? I'm Jay All Day, and I want to give you the Week 17 injury report. There's a ton of injuries from a fantasy perspective, from a betting perspective, and a survivor pool betting perspective. So we need to go through these injuries, see who's playing, who's not. CJ Stroud did clear protocol, so it looks like he's going to play. Let's get into some of these games, especially the ones with playoff implications, and see who's banged up and who's going to play and who's not going to play, and get edges on some bets and to see if your favorite team is going to make the playoffs or not. On Saturday night, we have the Lions traveling to the Cowboys. There are some playoff implications in this game. The Lions are still alive for that #1 seed, and the Cowboys are still alive to potentially win the NFC East. But they have to win this week and next week, and the Eagles have to lose at least one of those games. So both teams are kind of banged up on the offensive line. It says no Taylor Decker for the Lions, but center Frank Ragnow and Penei Sewell, the right tackle, they look like they're full participants in practice and they're going to play. The Cowboys, their offensive line is getting older. Zach Martin and Tyron Smith both got some rest days. We'll see if they're going to both play. I think they're going to need them to play. I think Zach Martin is going to play. We'll see about Tyron Smith. Then we move on to the Patriots and the Bills game. No one cares about the Patriots anymore. They're garbage. But the Bills will lock up a wild card spot with the win here. So it says offensive tackle for the Patriots, Trent Brown, safety Jalen Mills, Jabril Peppers, they all missed practice, and D lineman Barrymore and Bryant were both limited. For the Bills, edge rusher Leonard Floyd, Von Miller got a rest day. It looks like most of the injuries for the Bills on the report are just kind of rest days, letting some of the veterans rest. So they look pretty healthy to me. So I look for the Bills to lock up a playoff spot for sure. Falcons, Bears. Both these teams are pretty much over in this playoff hunt, but they're still technically alive. Offensive linemen for the Falcons, Lindstrom, Jake Matthews, and Caleb McCary were all limited. So that offensive line for the Falcons is very banged up. Tyler Heineke is also banged up, and so is Cordell Patterson. It looks like Kmet, Mooney, and Patrick did not practice for the Bears on Wednesday, so we'll see what happens with those injuries, but they look like those guys are going to play. I like the Bears in this spot, guys. The Falcons are already really banged up. Then we have the Raiders at the Colts. Both of these teams are technically still alive, too. The Colts are clinging on to that last playoff spot, and they've not looked good at all. It looks like Josh Jacobs did not practice for the Raiders, so he's a little banged up. And then anything else, pass rusher Max Crosby for the Raiders is dealing with that knee injury. He's been kind of hurt the last few weeks, so I don't know if he's going to play. He probably will play because he's an absolute savage, but he is banged up. And then the Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman is still in concussion protocol and is dealing with a shoulder injury too. But it looks like both of those teams are pretty healthy. The Colts need to win this game, so we'll see what happens. And then we have the Rams at the Giants. The Rams can lock up a wild card spot with the win here. The Giants are just doing terrible Giants. Like, let DeVito play, man. Come on. They're putting in Tyrod Taylor, who is old. He's not going to be the future at the quarterback position for the Giants. Maybe he'll get re-signed as a backup again for next year, but let DeVito play. Let this young kid see what you got in him. He hasn't played enough for you to really know who he is as a quarterback in the NFL. I don't know what's going on. It says just 2 players were on the injury report, on lineman Notebaum and Trey Tomlinson. So the Rams are really healthy, and the Giants had a very lengthy Dexter Lawrence, Deontay Banks, Barkley, Darren Waller. So they're really banged up. So bet the Rams. If you have the Rams in your survivor pool, the Rams look really good. I want to see what the money line is. If it's around -200, -225, that could be a potential good bet for us there. I like that. Cardinals at the Eagles. It says no Kyler Murray in Wednesday's practice for the Cardinals, but the quarterback is expected to play. I don't know what's going on with him, but I like the Eagles in the spot. If you haven't used the Eagles, it's must win for the Eagles. And it looks like Darius Slay will not be playing again this week. He's getting ready for the playoffs, but it does look like Landon Dickerson and Avonte Maddox, the slot corner, who they desperately need back, will be playing in Sunday's game. Dickerson comes back on the offensive line to shore up the O-line for the Birds. I like the Birds in that spot. Then we have a game with huge playoff implications. We have the New Orleans Saints traveling to Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers. It said the Saints had tackle Ramczyk, and as a non-participant, Cam Jordan, the pass rusher, that's a pretty big injury. And then wide receiver Chris Olave, he did not practice. And center Eric McCoy. So they're a little banged up. The Buccaneers, we have Barrett and Davis, both on the defensive side of the ball, did not practice. But for the most part, the Buccaneers are looking healthy. They're playing a lot better. Baker Mayfield looks really good, guys. I like the Buccaneers in that spot. 49ers at Commanders. I mean, the 49ers are going to blow out the Commanders. It doesn't matter who they have playing for the Commanders. But let's take a look at the injury report for the 49ers. They didn't have defensive tackle Eric Armstead for a foot injury. And then Brown, the safety, on a knee injury on Wednesday. Deebo Samuel is dealing with a neck injury. Trent Williams, a groin injury. And D-tackle Javon Hargraves. So there's some star players for the 49ers. So we have to keep an eye on those injuries as the season winds down. We'll see. The 49ers really want to win this game so they can solidify that number one seed. So they have to win here. They got to win next week to, steer off the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Lions, who are right on their heels. Panthers, Jaguars. Jaguars need to win this game. If they lose to the Panthers, god dang it. It looks like Trevor Lawrence did not practice for the Jaguars, but C.J. Beathard was a full participant. Say Jones was limited. So we'll see if Trevor Lawrence is going to play. They haven't made a decision here. So from a survivor perspective, I would stay away from this game, especially if Trevor Lawrence does not play. Then we move on to my favorite game of the week, Dolphins-Ravens. I think whoever wins this game is going to get the number one seed in the AFC. It's going to be tough sledding for the Dolphins to go on the road in the cold weather, to have to go north, to go play in Baltimore. The Dolphins has a bunch of key players who did not participate in practice on Wednesday, including Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, running back Raheem Mostert, and Devon Achane. So that offense is really, really banged up. So you might want to bet on the Ravens here, guys. We'll see what the money line is. There could be some juice to squeeze. I think the Ravens dominate this game. It's going to be pretty low scoring, like a 17-14, 21-14, something like that. I like the Ravens in this spot, guys. And then we got Titans-Texans, another game with a lot of playoff implications for the Texans. It looks like C.J. Stroud will be back. We'll see what happens, but I think he will be back. I said DeAndre Hopkins, he's looked old for the Titans anyway. The Titans are cooked. They're terrible on the road. I like the Texans in the spot. And then this is one of the biggest playoff implication games for wild cards in the AFC and NFC. The Steelers traveling across the country to play Seattle. Both must-win games. It says the Steelers had a few key name players on the injury report. Najee Harris, Micah Fitzpatrick did not practice. Kenny Pickett was limited, but it looks like Mason Rudolph, after that good performance last week, is going to get the start. And we'll see if the Steelers make the playoffs, will they stick with Rudolph or will they go back to Pickett? We'll see what happens. And there's a huge, lengthy injury report for the Seahawks. So if you're looking at betting the Seahawks, be aware. Kenneth Walker, tight end Noah Fant, tackle Jason Peters, cornerback the rookie Devin Witherspoon, Jackson Smith-Njigba, all limited in practice, guys. Then Chargers, Broncos. The Broncos bench Russell Wilson, so who cares? They're giving up on the season. If they really think they're going to go and, win without Russell Wilson, they couldn't even win with him. I don't think they might squeak out a win here. I don't know, but it doesn't look like the Broncos are going to make it to the playoffs. The Chargers, Keenan Allen, who's always on the injury list, he's dealing with a non-participant because of a hip injury. And then the Broncos did not have wide receiver Courtland Sutton, concussion in practice on Wednesday, and their tight end Dulcich, non-participant in practice as well, guys. All right, then we go on to the Bengals and the Chiefs, and then the Sunday night game, Packers-Vikings. Wide receiver Jamar Chase was the only guy on the Bengals who did not make practice on Wednesday. That'll probably be a Saturday decision whether or not he plays. Both of these teams really need to win this game. And then for the Chiefs, had a few starters out on Wednesday. Pacheco, concussion. Snead, the cornerback. Donovan Smith and wide receiver Tony did not practice. So they're dealing with some injuries too, especially on the offensive side of the football. From a betting perspective, stay away from this game. It should be fun to watch. Both teams need a win, but with all these injuries and the inconsistencies, stay away from this game. Packers-Vikings, must win for both teams. I like the Packers in this spot. I think the Vikings kind of shot themselves in the foot. Their offense is not very good. Their defense is pretty good, but they're playing in the dome, so it's not going to, affect the game at all whatsoever. It's not like they're playing in Lambeau and it's super freezing cold. But I like the Packers in this spot to win a close game like 23-20. All right, that's a wrap on the injury reports. There's some big ones, guys, so you really got to pay attention if you're going to bet this week to the weather and the injuries, see who's starting, who's not starting, so you continue to make that cash. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks again. We'll catch you on the next video. Peace.